Nine Herbs Charm, a Mistranslation, Part 2. If you haven't seen the first part of this, please, I suggest you go watch that first part because you won't understand much of the context of what's being articulated in this video. So just to recap, so apparently there are people that are claiming that in the Nine Herbs Charm Anglo-Saxon text that there is a mention of 7 worlds, and this is supposed to be evidence for Anglo-Saxon pagan cosmology or whatnot. Just to be clear about something, I don't doubt in general or entirely, the notion of 7 worlds, because in the Vedic, in Sanatana Dharma, there is a notion of 7 heavenly planets, if you will, and 7 hellish planets, if you will. But the point of this video is to go over what is actually said in the Nine Herbs Charm. And this is debunking the idea that this text says that there are 7 worlds, when really this is a misunderstanding and a grand mistranslation. So this is part 2 again, so if you haven't watched part 1, please do so. Okay, link is down below. Let's go. So many like to say that, well, Kevin, you got it wrong because really, Wirda in the text is actually in the accusative, and that is actually the accusative plural. The thing is, for those of you who don't know Old English very well, the accusative case, this is the direct object, and normally with prepositions, it is often associated with movement. And yes, that is true. However, there are cases in Old English that it could be dative, and I'm going to argue that in this case that it's dative, and I will prove why that is the case, okay? So let's move on. So we have the verb here, sette. Its infinitive form is settan, to set, to place, to put, to lay down, if you will. It's just to give an example how this verb is used in general. We have ich sette mīnum Beorn on wolkum. So literally, I set my rainbow on clouds, on wolknum. And the there, that is an indication of plural dative. We have the verb sette, as we have in the text up here. And we have the direct object, my rainbow, that is in the accusative, and on wolknum is in the plural dative. Okay, wolknum, we're talking about clouds, indicating a place. I place my rainbow on what? On clouds. Okay, just as what the text here is saying, that the witty Drichten, or the witty lord, shaped plants or herbs, and in 7 to the world. And here we have another example with the verb settan, to set, what have you, to place or whatnot. And then we have having the dative, for the place of where what is being set. All right. So we have the sentence here: Ich wene that yehi thonna setton up on dunum. And the translation is, I hope / expect / think that ye then had set them up on mountains. And dunum, again, that is a plural dative. Okay, it is a plural dative. Okay, then let's move on. And then we got the verb sendan, to send. All right, so we got sanda. This is a spelling variant, what have you. So we got sanda, and then we got again worda. Okay, sanda. So we're just gonna dive into into the how sanda is used, sendan is used. So we have here, it says here, thu saule sendest into tham flesh. Thou send soul into the flesh. And after that preposition is what? It is in the dative. Dative meaning the indirect object, whereas saula here is in the direct object, because you're sending what? Direct object, right? That would be soul. And indirect object to where? Into the flesh. The flesh would be in the dative, all right? Indirect object. So just want to go over how these verbs are used and how there is a dative usage within these usages of these verbs in question, okay? It doesn't have to be accusative all the time, okay? I'm arguing that wurda here is actually a singular dative, okay? It is a singular dative. So we got the preposition on. You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, the preposition on when dealing with movement, that it's in the accusative. Well, really? Well, that is not always the case. You know, we have here on. We got, you know, with the dative, it's usually the dative, and then when we go to section 6, we have an example here with verbs of motion. Okay, verbs of motion, and then we have the sentence here, Sethan on heavenum kuman ne mot. All right, so he who in heavens may not come. All right, so right here where you have it, this destroys the claim that, oh, well, it's in the accusative because it's in movement. Yes, for a lot of Anglo-Saxon texts that is the case, but it can also be true for the dative, okay? And this is a clear example of that, okay? So we got the notion of the number 7 here. You know, we got the number 7. When it comes to numbers in this poem, it's sort of implied what the number is of. Like, for example, in line 33, it says that that heu on neon tofleach. So that she or it, depending on the context, I would have to translate the whole thing altogether to get a better translation. But this is with this fragment in isolation. That she in 9 what? You know, it's sort of implied what that 9 will be. So some could say parts or pieces or what have you fled away. By the nature of the poem, the number is implied of what the object is. This is called an omission, or if you will, an ellipsis. Okay, so, and obviously this whole thing is about herbs and whatnot. So we're talking about, you know, filla and fillula. These are 2 plants. And the fact that in the second line here it says that the wise Lord shaped plants, or that there's 7. And then we got these 2 mentioned here, so it equals 9. And then we have the word wurda. Even then, what if wurda did mean worlds, for just for the sake of scenario? Like, what if that was an accusative plural? Well, I'm sorry to say, but it still wouldn't make sense, because we got to bear in mind what did world mean? What did the word world mean back then in Old English? Well, again, we have to go back to what it literally means. It is literally man age. You know, wer meaning man, just as we say today, werewolf. Or this could be translated as age of man. All right, let's if we were to get literal, let's go to the Bosworth Taller Anglo-Saxon Dictionary again. What did this word mean back in the time of the Anglo-Saxons and the way they used it? Obviously, the meaning of words have changed over time. The problem is, a lot of people, when they look through this text in particular, they think, Werelda is referring to like planets and stuff like that, when that's not the case at all. When clearly, when the authoritative source, if that was the case, the authoritative source would have agreed with that, but it doesn't. I have a link to this entry down below if you want to read it, but just to go over this, the whole 7 worlds things doesn't make sense, because even then, I mean, like, the word material world, it would be the closest of these definitions. The material world would be the closest to somewhat capture that when it doesn't, because then that would suggest more than one material world. And when clearly this is a Christian text where their conception of the universe and whatnot is that you have heaven, you have the world, the earth, and then hell. So to imply that there are 7 material worlds out there that are going on simultaneously, or what have you, that doesn't go together with the way people thought back then in this time period. So here we have my translation of time and fennel, many mighty two, when herb shaped witty lord, holy in heavens, then he hung, Settan sent in 7 to the material world, for all the poor and wealthy as remedy. This is a correction I've made as opposed to my translation in part 1. I've changed penance to remedy because this text of itself is about the plants and whatnot, and how to cure people and whatnot. So to have it as penance before would be a mistranslation on my part. Okay, so bear that in mind, that I've changed that last part. But anyway, but the main point is that we have thyme and fennel as 2 plants, and then we have 7. 7 plus 2 equals 9 into what? Into the material world, because again, in Christian thought, you know, you got the material world like earth, and then like the notion of heaven is like kind of like the spiritual world, if you will, and then you got hell. So in conclusion, just to recap, that the whole 7 worlds claim is debunked, as that because the thing is, the date of usage is found in verbs such as Settan, Sendan, you know, for the indirect object, you know, like you know, to set X thing on to set X thing on Y, and Y would be in the dative. So we see that with examples with Settan and Sendan, and that we also see dative usages with the preposition on. So quite likely that worlda is singular dative. Okay, and then later on, you know, that world in Old English again does not mean planet. If anything, it's referring to the earth, or if you will, the material realm, if you will, and time. All right, because in the Bosworth Anglo-Saxon Tolerar Dictionary, that the first thing it says is that, okay, what is the world? It is the material world, and or has to do with state of existence and times. And as well, the nature of numbers in the poem omit their noun, as shown in line 33. So the same thing can be said. The herbs in question of what our text in question is talking about and implying, right? And in 7, again, 7 plus 2 with fiddle and finula. Yeah, fiddle and finula, that equals 9. So 9 herbs charm makes sense, right? Even if it was 7 worlds, it wouldn't make sense because it would be inconsistent with Christian thought. So the 7 worlds claim in the 9 herbs charm has been debunked. It is debunked. You know, I mean, I was a bit thorough this time and you know, whatnot, but these things have to be said. And you know, it's been debunked again. All right, and it's okay that I have to do this. I mean, it's hard for people to understand this stuff. You know, and I decided to make a part 2 to this because I really feel like the facts are on my side on this. So any sincere Germanic pagan watching this, debunking the idea of 7 worlds, this would go in line with, well, that the Germanic peoples, you know, that their conception of cosmology is still consistently 9 worlds. But at the same time, I don't throw out the 7 worlds in general out the window entirely. Because you know, we have in the Vedic context and the Sanatana Dharma that there are 7 heavenly realms and 7 hellish realms, and whatnot. This part 2 video and the first one is really debunking the 9 herbs charms claim. The claim within this text specifically that it says 7 worlds when clearly it doesn't. The 7 worlds claim in the 9 herbs charm is debunked again. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you're new, and if you really like the channel, please become a patron at my Patreon page down below. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.